Good evening. I'm Howard K. Smith in Washington. Harry Reasoner's on vacation. These are tonight's headlines. President Ford says that gasoline rationing will be enacted, to use his words, over my dead body. The Secretary of State Kissinger begins another peace-seeking trip to the Middle East. A Senate committee will investigate a Pentagon contract to a private firm to train Saudi Arabian troops. The Irish Republican Army begins an indefinite ceasefire. And tonight's comment on some signs of hope for success in the Kissinger mission. President Ford was off on another trip today to sell his economic and energy programs to the American public, this time to Texas and Kansas. ABC White House correspondent Tom Jarrow reports from Houston.
While his Secretary of State is engaged in shuttle diplomacy among the Arab oil producers of the Middle East, President Ford came to the heart of the domestic oil country.
I think we've reached the metallic stage of the energy crisis. I emphasize the metallic stage. We have to look for the silver lining in the energy problem. We must consider it a golden opportunity to achieve self-sufficiency. And then I might add, we have to get the lead out. If we're going to lick the energy problem in this country, it has to be a 5 or 10-year program. So what our public would have to understand is that a gasoline rationing program would involve a 5 to 10-year gasoline rationing program. Everybody, of course, when they talk about gasoline rationing, understandably believes that he or she will get all of the gasoline that they think they deserve. And everybody else will be called upon to make a sacrifice. Well, the facts are there will be, if we get into gasoline rationing over my dead body.
The president will continue to plug away for his economic and energy programs here in Houston in meetings with news executives and with Southwest governors. Tomorrow, what's become known as the White House Barnstorming Tour will fold its platform here in Texas and move on to Kansas. Tom Jarrow, ABC News in Houston.
Tomorrow, the president goes to Topeka to try to sell his program in farm country. We have a report on the kind of reception Mr. Ford is likely to receive in the grain belt from ABC's Bill Werdum.
When President Ford comes here to address the Kansas legislature, there will be a chill in the air which has nothing to do with the winter weather. Kansas farmers, conservative, Republican, are disappointed in Gerald Ford. They say his current plan to attack the economic crisis is wrong.
Well, he started out doing the right thing, and somehow or another he got off on the wrong track when he didn't go ahead and fight inflation. Instead of turn around and work on a recession, we've got to stop inflation. Our government spending has gotten out of hand.
We got to cut down government spending for one thing, and try to get the budget balanced. And maybe it'll cause a little recession and some unemployment, but that's part of the thing that goes along with it.
There is relatively little unemployment here in Kansas, but there is little money being made. Cattle ranches are losing money, other farm income is down, yet farmers are hit hard by inflation. They expected the president to deal with inflation. He has not done so, and they are disillusioned.
Well, I think the thing that was recently after the president's budget come out with the $52 billion deficit was very disappointing, because when the president first come into office indicating that he was going to have a balanced budget and that he was going to fight inflation, and it seems now like maybe that due to pressures or for whatever the reason might be, that he's kind of changed the course, and he's now more concerned about a recession rather than inflation. And Kansas farmers in general still believe that inflation is the #1 enemy.
The farmers are under no illusion that their arguments will cause the president to change course. They do feel they have been let down by a Republican administration, and they now see no hope that either party is going to attack inflation. Bill Werdum, ABC News, Topeka, Kansas.
On Wall Street today, stock prices were lower, trading was brisk. Dow Jones Industrials were down 3.5 points. Standard & Poor's Index off 0.27. The American Stock Exchange Index was down by 0.21.
Or carrier. Canada. This summer.
A short time ago, she took Bufferin for a painful headache. Bufferin laboratory tests show most of its pain reliever gets in the bloodstream 10 minutes sooner than plain aspirin.
Hey, my headache's gone.
A short while ago, he took Bufferin. He needed it. Bufferin speeds most of its pain reliever toward the headache 10 minutes sooner than plain aspirin. No more pain. And with Bufferin, there's less chance of stomach upset.
My headache's gone.
Most of Bufferin is on its way 10 minutes sooner.
Secretary of State Kissinger today began a new peacemaking mission in the Middle East, his 10th since assuming office. His major goal this time is to breathe new life into the U.S. peace initiative after a long period of diplomatic stalemate. ABC's Lou Chaffee reports on Kissinger's arrival in Israel.
Henry Kissinger, accompanied by his wife, arrived in Tel Aviv hopeful that he'll be able to work out the basis of a new agreement between Israel and Egypt, an agreement for another troop withdrawal by Israel in the Sinai Desert. After being welcomed by Foreign Minister Yigal Allon, the secretary made a short airport statement.
I welcome the decision that was announced yesterday by the Israeli cabinet that we agree with them that the step-by-step approach is likely to be the most productive. We are prepared to explore other means and other forums if necessary in order to make rapid progress.
There's been considerable criticism lately of Mr. Kissinger's step-by-step approach towards a settlement. Today, the opposition party in Israel, the Likud, called for new elections to prevent the government from giving back a large chunk of the Sinai in return for an Egyptian pledge of non-belligerency. The Likud position may be extreme, but there is a growing sentiment that Israel has given enough away already without getting very much in return. The feeling is even stronger on the Golan Heights, where they face the Syrians, who have shown very little willingness to talk peace. Here, there is practically no room for maneuver. The distances are shorter, with the front lines only 18 miles from Israeli soil.
Kissinger talks about his quote-unquote 6 lousy kilometers. But I'm not sure if he realizes just how many settlements there are up here and how many people are living here.
There's a lot of skepticism about the current round of negotiations here and about the kind of agreement that Mr. Kissinger will be able to work out with the Arabs. And the Israelis will be asking for a lot more than they've gotten so far. Even before Mr. Kissinger arrived here, it was clear that his task is not only going to be delicate, but also difficult. His image has suffered here, and he's now going to have to convince the Israelis all over again that his way is still the best way to peace. This is Lou Chaffee, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
There was more statistical evidence today that Kissinger's popularity is on the wane in Israel. A public opinion poll taken by an Israeli newspaper showed only 25% of Israelis now support Kissinger's step-by-step approach to peace. That compares to 64% in favor of Kissinger's efforts in a poll last June. Another Middle East topic made headlines this weekend. Word that the Pentagon has awarded a contract to a private American firm to train Saudi Arabian military units which protect that country's oil fields. Today, Chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, John Stennis, announced that his committee will investigate the contract. A number of members of the committee have expressed concern about the contract. The latest, Senator John Culver of Iowa.
It's absolutely imperative that we review and evaluate the circumstances of this contract and its implications. I think if we've learned anything from the long nightmare agony of our Vietnam involvement, is that it's an awfully fine line between advisors and combat troops, and I think it's absolutely essential that we not get on that slippery slope again.
This is Frank Tomlinson at the State Department. The genesis of the aid program for the Saudi National Guard goes back to March 1973, when an agreement was reached to modernize the Saudis' 26,000-man Guard force. The whole program will cost more than $300 million in the last 6 years. Nearly $77 million will go to the Vanel Corporation, which will hire American ex-servicemen to train the Saudis. Pentagon officials claim the Vanel men will provide training only in the use of modern weapons and not in field tactics, and that the Saudis will pay the bill. This is the first time a civilian firm has been hired to train foreign troops. When the Vanel contract was announced in January, no mention was made of Saudi Arabia, only that Vanel would provide services and supplies overseas. That's the way the Saudi Arabians wanted it handled. Government officials won't call the Vanel men mercenaries. They say they're civilians working for a civilian firm paid by the Saudi Arabians, even though the contract is the responsibility of the U.S. Army Materiel Command. Frank Tomlinson, ABC News, at the State Department.
In spite of the fact that Vice President Rockefeller has taken on the job of investigating the CIA and is handling other assignments for the president, he remains an activist in search of a role. ABC's Herbert Kaplow reports.
Nelson Rockefeller is spending a lot of time with aides trying to learn how to handle those few times when he has to do something meaningful in the Senate, like ruling on the filibuster or voting to break ties. There are a few such times indeed. Even those past vice presidents who amounted to anything found that their fame really came later, after being vice president. Teddy Roosevelt, for one. His lazy days as vice president, recounted by Rockefeller in the story of the chandelier that Teddy moved from the president's Oval Office to the vice president's office at the Senate.
It was down the Oval Room when Teddy Roosevelt moved from here down there, and he opened all the doors and windows the first day he was there. The breeze came through. He was a big outdoor man, you know. And all these little crystals started jingling, and he couldn't concentrate on his work, so he said, send it up to the vice president's office and keep him awake.
So far, anyway, Rockefeller's managed to stay awake, partly because of the many ceremonial requirements of his new job, like greeting a group of high school students from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Monday afternoon encounters with reporters testify to his most specific, substantive assignment so far. That's when the vice president talks of what happened in that day's session of his commission investigating the CIA. He reveals little, but he talks with reporters. At cabinet meetings with the president, the new vice president has mostly listened so far.
I can only do a job as an assistant or a staff man for the president, which I'm delighted to do. You know, in other words, there is no constitutional function, and my only job is here at the Senate. However, if he asks me to do something, I'm delighted to work as a staff man for him.
Going forth to preach the administration gospel is a chore Rockefeller expected. He doesn't particularly like making speeches, but it goes with the job, urging support for the president and his policies.
If we don't back the president on these things, the United States is going to lose its capacity for leadership in the world and its effectiveness at this crucial moment. And what this president needs is the backing of the Congress and the American people. He deserves it, and I thank you very much.
And so Rockefeller's immersed himself in his new job, such as it is. He says he knows it's up to the president to decide just how much of a job it'll be, and that's okay. But Rockefeller also remembers the president promised to make him his chief lieutenant for domestic policy. Well, that hasn't happened yet. Aides to the president say there are bureaucratic problems in trying to work the vice president in. Also, there are more pressing needs to worry about right now. Well, whatever the reasons, the new vice president is getting a little fidgety. Herbert Kaplow, ABC News, at the vice president's office in Washington.
Elsewhere in Washington, charges that the Social Security system is unstable and unfair were denied today by 5 former secretaries of Health, Education, and Welfare and by 3 former Social Security commissioners. The group said problems facing the Social Security system are easily manageable and do not constitute, as critics say, a financial crisis. The Federal Trade Commission said today that the A&P supermarket chain was guilty of advertising sales of goods that were either not available or priced higher than the advertised price. The FTC said customers had a 13% chance of not finding what they were lured into the store to buy. A&P said it will check its procedures and correct them if that is so. 19,000 workers today walked out of McDonnell Douglas plants in St. Louis, where jet fighters are made, and in Florida and California, where space rockets and commercial planes are made. The strike deadline set by the union passed at midnight last night without a new contract. If the strike is short, officials say it will not seriously delay jet fighter production.
This is my husband, and it makes me very, very happy. He really shows me that he cares.
What can I say? I love her. And I'm glad she takes good care of herself.
Well, I try to eat right. I exercise. And to be sure I get enough iron and vitamins, I take a Geritol tablet every day.
Geritol. More than twice the iron of any ordinary supplement and some very important vitamins.
My wife. She takes good care of herself. And I love her for it.
Your electric razor's not giving you a great shave, huh? Well, could be there's nothing wrong with your razor. But there's something wrong with your face. Your beard is just laying there. Get it to stand up with this Williams Electric Shave. With Electric Shave, your razor shaves closer, smoother, and with less irritation. And that's a fact. Get Electric Shave or Electric Shave Tender Face if you've got tender skin. Make your beard stand up. Make your razor shave better.
I live with dirt and grease. So I couldn't live without Fantastic. It's got ESP. Extra sprayer power.
What makes it so good is you just touch the trigger for extra power. To spray easier, clean faster.
What makes it so great is you're spraying Fantastic. So you can clean just about everything.
Including works of art. Try Fantastic from Texsize. It's the only cleaner with ESP. Extra sprayer power.
It's the only way to spray.
If you still time your wash to add fabric softener to your rinse, it's time to switch from your washing machine fabric softener to Cling Free. It softens more conveniently.
Just spray its free-flow formula in the dryer,
where heat and tumbling release its softening ingredients to soften clothes without static cling. And each large can softens 65 dryer loads. Cling Free. It puts in softness, takes out cling conveniently.
Abroad, the Irish Republican Army began a new ceasefire today. No time limit was set on the truce, but an IRA spokesman said the shooting would soon start again if there's no progress towards a political settlement. In the hours just before the truce began, gunmen killed 3 Catholics in Northern Ireland. Portuguese President Costa Gomes today set April the 12th as the date for Portugal's first free elections in almost 50 years. An assembly will be elected to draw up a new constitution and pave the way for the election of a legislative body later in the year. If free elections do take place in Portugal, as the government says they will, it'll be the first time many Portuguese ever voted. In fact, after half a century of dictatorship, few people know much about politics. ABC's Don Farmer reports.
This is no military maneuver. It's a political exercise by Portugal's ruling military men. They are bringing entertainment and, through it, political education to the mountain people in this country's remote areas. It's a government campaign to explain democracy. The attention-getting device is jumping out of helicopters into areas where most folks have never even seen a helicopter, much less a man jump out of one. With the showbiz comes a message. The generals in Lisbon know that these illiterate peasants know nothing of politics. Mostly they fear it, even the word. 50 years of dictatorship taught them to think little and to say nothing. The soldiers answer questions and explain that there will be an election in the spring with free voting. That's never happened here. Some of the backwoods people didn't even know about last April's revolution and that the dictators were gone. What kind of reaction do you get from the people here when you talk about the new Portuguese government, the new way of life, democracy, and all of that? What do they say to you?
Well, I think they don't understand quite well. Anyway, not all, not everything.
It's new to them.
Yes. Anyway, it's the first time, so maybe next time we come here, they understand more a little bit.
One way of trying is through the children. They learn a song about the revolution. It's a revived folk song, forbidden under the right-wing regime for its talk of freedom. The leaders in Lisbon always have taken these country people for fools or for granted or both. But no longer. Now, for the first time in their lives, what these people want really counts with those who will determine how this country should be led in the months and years ahead. This is Don Farmer, ABC News, in Minho Province, Portugal.
In Africa, the Ethiopian Air Force today resumed bombing Eritrean guerrillas north of Asmara as fighting broke out again in that city. A peace mission from the Sudan is in Ethiopia trying to arrange a ceasefire. In Seoul, South Korea, this weekend, 1,800 couples, all followers of the Reverend Sun Myung Moon, committed mass matrimony. ABC's Irv Chapman was there and tells us about the 1,800 all-at-once weddings.
The wedding hall was the Changchung Gymnasium in downtown Seoul. 800 of the couples were Japanese, 85 were American. More than half the total came from here in Korea, where the Unification Church has its largest membership. The man officiating was the founder of the church, the Reverend Sun Myung Moon. Fresh from a rousing tour of the United States, Reverend Moon was spending just a few weeks here in Korea. To the faithful, he is heaven's instrument on earth, and they did not truly meet to marry except in his presence. There were in the hall many happy parents joining in Reverend Moon's prayer, but some of the couples, particularly in Japan, who chose to marry at Reverend Moon's behest, left angry parents behind. They demanded of church officials in Tokyo that marriages lacking parental consent be stopped, and some were. They asked the foreign ministry not to let their children out of the country, but some of those over the age of consent would not be stopped. To some of the most faithful of church workers, the very choice of a spouse was left in Reverend Moon's hands.
There were situations where he said, would you and you, after some consideration, would you be interested in being married together? And in some situations, the person said no. So they were not mated then.
When we came to Korea this time, Reverend Moon asked if there were any people, any brothers especially, who'd be interested in marrying international marriages with black people. And to me, this is something really great, to have a universal attitude where really you see the heart of a person and not the skin color.
Hazel, how do you feel about it?
For me, it is very strange.
Reverend Moon took most pride in mating church workers from different countries. And so the brides and grooms exchanged wedding rings, though by Unification Church practice, they will not consummate the marriage until 40 days have passed. The congregation cheered. Confetti fell from the rafters. All over the world, there are young people looking for a commitment. These young people today made their commitment, for better or worse, to their church and to a spouse. This is Irv Chapman, ABC News, Seoul, Korea.
Back in this country, an appeals court today ordered the Army to delay its plan to kill millions of blackbirds in Kentucky and Tennessee. The U.S. Court of Appeals said it wants to hear the arguments of conservationists, which will be presented on Wednesday. Doctors today gave special breathing treatment to one of the quintuplets born in suburban Chicago this weekend. The baby boy is listed in serious condition. The other quints, 2 boys and 2 girls, are in good condition. Muhammad Ali said today he's made enough money fighting and will in the future donate all the earnings of his fights to charity and the development of black-owned business ventures. Ali said he will take only enough to pay for his training expenses. I'll have tonight's comment in a moment.
Mother, I just won't take it. I've got my own laxative, and it tastes like chocolate. Milk of magnesia tastes like...
Chocolate. See? New chocolate-flavored Phillips.
Chocolate Phillips? Does it work?
Of course. It's still gentle, thorough milk of magnesia. The kind of laxative doctors recommend most often. Your chocolate laxative can't say that. Try the Phillips.
Chocolate Phillips. It tastes good.
Foreign cars are fun, but...
Hi! I need a new muffler.
Where does it go? The glove compartment?
Muffler.
Hold on. But you gotta leave the car.
Foreign car mufflers aren't foreign to Midas. We now stock and install mufflers on most foreign cars the way we've been installing them on American cars for the past 20 years.
I think I'll try Midas.
Isn't this the way you want to love? The way you look says a lot about about you.
The man who uses Vitalis liquid has neat, well-groomed hair. He wants it that way because he knows it's a look that says a lot. Vitalis liquid.
The way you look says a lot about you.
This could be the hardest working appliance in your kitchen. It's GE's king-size toaster oven. It automatically toasts 4 slices of bread in less than 3 minutes. It top browns 4 cheese sandwiches or 35 snacks. It bakes 6 potatoes, a main dish casserole, or a frozen dinner. Put a General Electric toaster oven to work in your kitchen. It works harder than a toaster, and it's fast.
Despite the snake pit quality of the Middle East and the unaccustomed criticism that now surrounds Secretary Kissinger, many things have made his new visit there not unhopeful. First, little reported, King Faisal toured the Arab countries surrounding Israel last month, distributing large money gifts and a message. The message was, lay off thoughts of war and give Kissinger a chance. Second, much reported, Soviet Chief Brezhnev canceled his visit to Egypt last month. And no doubt the main reason was Sadat had made clear he was keeping his bets on Kissinger, Russian advice to the contrary notwithstanding. When you've got far the richest Arab, Faisal, and far the strongest, Sadat, with you, your position is far from weak. What Sadat wants from Israel are the 2 key Sinai passes and the Sinai oil fields. So, third, it was hopeful that Prime Minister Rabin of Israel said on our AM America program Friday he would recommend giving them back to Egypt for solid guarantees of peace. Fourth, and finally, Yasser Arafat, the head of the Palestine Liberation Organization, gave a few signs of conciliation. He imprisoned terrorists connected with the PLO, and he withdrew his UN proposal that Palestine be a single state, in effect abolishing Israel. He explained he was only dreaming of a distant future, a hint that he would recognize Israel if the circumstances are right. Of course, obstacles still abound, above all the bitter gut distrust on both sides which met Kissinger in Tel Aviv today. But there are fragments of hope, and Kissinger is skilled at piecing fragments into agreements. That's tonight's news and a comment. I'm Howard K. Smith. Good night.
You wear dentures? Watch this demonstration of the holding power of Cool Brace denture adhesive. Brace even holds against hot coffee.
I've lined this cup with Brace. Now, press on the saucer. Will Brace hold if I turn it over? Well, Brace has an exclusive formula of 3 strong, water-resistant plastics. So, Brace holds. Imagine, then, how Brace holds in your mouth. If your denture adhesive isn't giving you this kind of hold, get cool, refreshing Brace. Brace holds.
If you like maple, you'll love the taste of buckwheat.
Buckwheat, the only maple-flavored cereal flakes. Now that's great. Crisp flakes with the rich, brawny flavor of buckwheat with a sparkling snap of maple flavor.
Really good.
High nutrition, too, with buttered toast, juice, milk. Makes complete breakfast. If you like maple, you'll love buckwheat, the only maple-flavored cereal flakes.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. Terry Webster tries to prove a murder suspect's innocence on The Rookies, tonight at 8, 7 Central. Right after, Elizabeth Montgomery stars in The Legend of Lizzie Borden, the true story of a woman suspected of killing her parents who had to prove her innocence or be hanged. Tonight on ABC.
It's dynamite when a cop